A mean surf pounds coastal areas of southeast Virginia as Hurricane Bonnie takes the slow track out to sea, but not before leaving a trail of damage from coastal areas of North Carolina to Virginia. And it is still a hurricane at this hour. We have the latest update from the Hurricane Center. We'll give you more details on that in just a moment. I want to start you off with a look at a satellite picture, and you'll notice it's still a very symmetrical hurricane, impressive looking, but does not spin those clouds very far inland. The question is, are the winds inland? Will we have more rain? All these things we'll be talking about on this update. And joining me now to help me out is Dr. Steve Lyons, our hurricane expert. Steve, first off, let's talk about what new information we've gotten from the Hurricane Center.
Right, at 2 p.m., one thing we've seen is it's moving northeast now and at 11 miles per hour, so it continues to accelerate slowly but steadily toward the northeast. They still have winds at 75 miles per hour, so it's still a minimal hurricane, and in general, it's sort of half a hurricane, but keep in mind, there could be very strong tropical storm force winds still on the coast the next 6 to 12 hours, but they also expect weakening to occur the next 24 hours.
So starting to make more of the turn, that important turn that we need.
That's right, and continue off and accelerate rapidly.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the stats here. And again, I guess these are this is the old information, so why don't you give us the new center.
Okay, the latest as of 2 p.m., it was 37.3 north longitude and 73.6 west.
Winds are still 75 miles per hour. The new motion is
northeast at 11.
Okay, so picking up a little bit of speed. We do have a live report for you. We take you live now to Atlantic City, and that is where we're joined by WABC TV reporter Bertha Coombs. And you're past the time of high tide now, Bertha. What were conditions like at that point?
At high tide, Jill, it was actually a lot more dramatic than it is now. We still have a lot of surf. If we pan off, you can sort of see a lot of folks coming out to take a look at what is a pretty dramatic show out here today. But the worst was really around high tide. The water was coming up on the beach, getting close to the boardwalk. Things seem to have receded a bit now. About an hour ago, we had an awful lot of rain. It got really, really dark, but now the winds seem to have died down a bit. The rain has stopped, and for the moment, it feels kind of calm. People are waiting to see what's going to happen this afternoon and waiting to see just when Bonnie decides to come here.
All right, so the wind's not too bad there. Do you see a lot of tourists still out and about?
Still a lot of tourists out and about. A lot of the emergency management folks were out earlier this morning, and they said they feel great that they've had a lot of lead time, so they were able to sort of batten down the hatches. There were a couple of bulldozers out early this morning building up the sand a little bit, but it doesn't appear to be much erosion at the moment. Things appear to be relatively calm, although again, the surf is pretty dramatic.
Okay, thank you very much, Bertha Coombs in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And actually, Steve, that's probably what we would expect. Winds shouldn't be too bad. The surf will be, though.
That's right. The surf is going to take a while to go down, so if you plan to be out in the water, don't go out. Change your plans.
Now, do you think that'll be the case through the entire weekend, or as this gets farther away, will folks be able to be out in the surf by, say, Sunday?
Farther south, down the southern part of North Carolina and South Carolina, it should tone down a little bit by then. But up to the north in the direction that the hurricane is moving, no. I would not think it would tone down at all until probably, Sunday or Monday at least.
Well, the last remaining weekends of the summer, so I know that'll be an important factor. Let me show you where the tropical storm warnings are from the North Carolina-Virginia border all the way up to Plymouth, Massachusetts. And again, you'd mentioned earlier this is like half a hurricane. Explain that again, and that is really why we have tropical storm advisories instead of hurricane warnings.
Yes, here's the center, and the aircraft reconnaissance is really seeing most of the hurricane winds on this side, and on this side is the tropical storm force wind. So as it moves up the coast, assuming the center stays off the coast as we expect it to, this tropical storm force side will be on the land and the hurricane side will be well out over the ocean. And so if that continues, we only expect tropical storm force winds. Plus we expect weakening as well. So the farther north we go, the less like there will ever be to be hurricane force winds on the coast.
Alrighty, we don't have much rain left either at this point. You can see North Carolina, actually some sun returning in spots, and it's going to be a day to assess the damage, I'm sure.
That is correct, and you can see the circulation center, the low center, or the hurricane center is about right in here, continuing to move off this way. It's also pushing away from the New Jersey coast, so our reporter there that's seeing better weather, it's because it's moving away from her, and also the rain bands that stopped.
Okay, very few rain bands in here. On the satellite picture, you can see the clouds are already coming in over southern New England. Again, now let's talk about our track coming up here for the next 24 hours, because this will impact the weekend for folks heading to the coast.
Yeah, you can see the forecast we've been thinking about is basically in here, and there are possibilities of air here that are included. One would be out in here and one over here. Right now, it looks more like this track is occurring, and if that's the case, the weak side of the hurricane and/or tropical storm later on will be along the coastal zone. They'll have much less chance for any significant damage. Just the surf will be an issue.
Okay, we'll continue to update you with live reports from the northeast as we go into this weekend with possible tropical storm force winds. But Steve, we also want to talk about Hurricane Danielle. First, the stats on this one. It has 90-mile-per-hour winds. It's moving to the west-northwest at 16 miles per hour. We can see the track that it has taken, but how about the track that it may take?
Well, it looks like this is a little easier track to forecast at least the next 24 to 36 hours because the winds at most levels are generally out of the east. So it's not going to take a very sudden change in direction the next 24 hours. So we expect it to continue on this track to be somewhere generally in this area in the next 36 to 72 hour time frame. 72, it may be a little farther up in here, but the next 24 to 36 is going to continue on that west-northwest track and intensify very slowly.
Okay, intensification, but no landfall expected with that one, at least through the weekend. First part of next week could be a different story.
That's right. You should pay attention to that because it could speed up, but we don't expect landfall before Sunday.
Okay, thanks very much, Dr. Steve Lyons. We'll keep you up to date on Hurricane Bonnie and the possible track of Hurricane Danielle. Next few days, again, critical in the tropics as you may be affected. So if you'd like to get more information from the internet, weather.com is the spot. In the meantime, back to the studio now. Lisa Moser standing by to tell you about some thunderstorms in the lower 48 and the chance of some sunshine for your weekend.
Thanks, Jill. We'll check back with you with Steve Lyons in the forecast center at the bottom of the hour. We continue to see rain showers very persistent in and around Chicagoland. We're looking at a trough of low pressure draping across the Central Plains and the Corn Belt, so keep the umbrellas handy. A few thunderstorms are likely out towards Dubuque. We're seeing some showers and some thunder showers at this hour. The rain has increased the past 20 minutes or so in and around the St. Louis vicinity. If you're headed out along Interstate 70, you'll be running into some of this rainfall, not only in and around St. Louis, but also Joplin, Missouri, into Tulsa, Oklahoma, and back down towards the Panhandle. Here, too, all along our system, we're seeing cloudy skies, rain showers, and a few more thunderstorms are likely to pick up as we head into the later afternoon hours. You'll notice that looking at the regional radar here, it's just outlining where our system is laying across the midsection of the country, and this is the same general vicinity where we're likely to see some of the heavy rainfall. Well, the collection is probably going to be the most heaviest in and around St. Louis, Missouri. So from Peoria, Illinois into the metro vicinity of St. Louis and back down towards Joplin, Missouri, the southwestern area of Missouri. We're going to see some heavy rainfall with the repeated rain showers in and along our system. The other concern back home will be the high temperatures. Yesterday we saw some record high temperatures in and around Louisiana, in Texas, and also southern Georgia. Well, look out, because again today it's going to be very hot. We'll see triple digits topping out in and around Dallas, the Fort Worth vicinity, Little Rock, also getting down to Columbus, Georgia. The overnight low temperatures will offer little in the way of relief because the overnight low is only dropping in the southeast into the 70s. Now, further to the north, we're going to see some cooler air begin to creep in. You'll notice that as we head into the evening hours, the winds will probably be shifting around Minot, North Dakota. Another frontal boundary comes in from Canada. We won't see a lot of moisture along this frontal boundary, but certainly we're going to notice some cooler temperatures working in behind this front. Of course, the major concern will continue to be how much moisture will we see with Bonnie in the overnight hours, and certainly that's going to be some concern here at the Weather Channel. Telecommunications for the Weather Channel live reports are sponsored in part by Bell South. Coming up, the impact for your weekend as we travel across the Northeast. We'll have your local forecast coming up, and right after that, as always, it's TravelWise.
Hi, my name is Phil, and I love cars.
Hi, Phil!
Cars. We know them. We love them.
Check your yellow pages for a Valvoline Instant Oil Change Center near you. in the Atlantic and the Caribbean. And of course, the biggest thing that we're watching in the tropics is Hurricane Bonnie. Yes, it is back to hurricane status. That happened earlier this morning, in the wee hours of the morning, I believe. And guess what? We still, as of 2 p.m., are talking about a hurricane here. Yesterday it was downgraded to a tropical storm. Now we're back to hurricane status. But as it continues to move on off towards the northeast, we do anticipate that it will weaken and hopefully become tropical storm once again later on today or even later on tonight. Now, let me give you the latest information here. 37.3 north, 73.6 west, 110 miles east-southeast of Wallops Island, Virginia. That's where it's centered. Winds are at 75 miles per hour, so minimal hurricane. Moving northeast at 11 miles per hour, so it has accelerated just a tad. The estimated pressure at 992 millibars. All right, check out the tropical storm warnings that are in effect from Plymouth, Massachusetts through Watch Hill, Rhode Island, and southward from there to Smith Point, Virginia, and down towards the North Carolina-Virginia border. Now, overnight, we did have some winds of 40 to 60 miles per hour near Norfolk, Virginia. We also had some problems with some heavy amounts of rain into the Norfolk Air Station, where we reported as much as 4+ inches of rain. As you look at the satellite vantage point, you can see that it is still covering a wide spectrum of an area here, but it's not looking that great as far as organization is concerned. And I was just talking to Dr. Steve Lyons, our hurricane expert, and he was telling me that the stronger winds and the stronger hurricane type conditions seem to be on this particular side of the system to the west. Okay, the eastern portion seems to be, I should say the western portion here, seems to be looking more like a tropical storm. So that's kind of interesting too. So folks right here along the coast probably going to be experiencing tropical storm force conditions, hence the tropical storm warnings that are in effect. If we see any kind of hurricane type conditions, it would be over the open waters, not affecting anyone in the landmass here, but of course mariners need to be advised. Looking at a different satellite perspective, this is our visible shot. You can still see that circulation with Hurricane Bonnie. We do anticipate that it will be downgraded to tropical storm status later on this afternoon or possibly even tonight. Okay. The official storm track takes it in this northeasterly manner and speeds it up a little bit, and probably it will pass just to the south of Cape Cod in the next 18 hours or so. Okay, so it has picked up some speed. Will it impact you in a negative manner? Well, we could see some rain bands and we could also see some gusty winds. But again, as Dr. Steve Lyons was saying, probably just going to be looking at tropical storm force type winds, not the hurricane force winds. And that's a big, big difference. And that is definitely some good news. As we check out the radar here out of Elizabeth City and Norfolk, you can see that circulation with the hurricane, but the heavy rainfall just not quite making it onto the shoreline here. And so again, some very good news for a lot of folks, but keep in mind you're still under those tropical storm warnings. Now let's turn our attention to Hurricane Danielle, still packing 90-mile-per-hour winds, and we do have it moving towards the west-northwest at 16 miles per hour. The official forecast track takes it in that general direction through the weekend. Later next week, hopefully it's going to do one of these numbers and curve out to see. We're keeping our fingers crossed. You may want to tune in periodically to see what's happening with Hurricane Danielle. 90-mile-per-hour winds. It will be moving over into an area that is a little bit more favorable for further development. So that's why we're going to monitor it very closely. As of right now, it's not a threat to any of the islands. We do not have any kind of hurricane watches or warnings in effect in association with Danielle. Want to point out this tropical wave that we've been watching for quite some time over the Caribbean. Now this is in an area that is favorable for development. This is looking a little more impressive as far as the organization is concerned. It is not a tropical depression at this time, but we are going to monitor the situation here for a while because we may see it move back into the Gulf of Mexico. It may develop here, We'll have to wait and see if it is going to impact folks along the Gulf Coast. We'll keep an eye on this and everything else. Stay with us.
The mid-Atlantic coast already feels Bonnie's force, and areas farther north are bracing for its possible arrival. We'll show you where Bonnie may head next on Weather Center.
If you've got little kids, you've got big messes. Try Bounty Rinse and Reuse with sponge-like durability. Old sponges can be grimy. Ordinary paper towels tear. But Rinse and Reuse can handle the toughest jobs. One sheet is durable enough to rinse, wring, and reopen. It works till the job's done. Then throw the mess away.
The quilted quicker picker up.
Bounty Rinse and Reuse.
It's okay. She'll be back in 3,000 miles. Don't touch me.
Cars. We know them. We love them.
Check your yellow pages for a Valvoline Instant Oil Change Center near you.
Put a little sunbeam in your life. Lots of peanut butter would be nice.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Weather Center. I'm Lisa Moser. We'll have all the nation's weather and the forecast in just a few minutes, but first let's get the story on Hurricane Bonnie. We continue to track the storm as it brushes the northeast, and for more details we turn to Janetta Jones, who is in the forecast center. Janetta?
All right, thanks a lot, Lisa. We are still watching what's going on with Hurricane Bonnie. We're awaiting the latest information, and we will be passing it along to you immediately. As a matter of fact, I've just gotten word that Hurricane Bonnie is no longer a hurricane. It is Tropical Storm Bonnie as of right now. We have the latest information for you. If we can go to the statistic page, I'll sort of read over this for you. We now have a tropical storm. It has been downgraded. Tropical storm warnings remain in effect from Watch Hill, Rhode Island to Plymouth, Massachusetts. Tropical storm conditions could affect the coastal waters south of Nova Scotia by Saturday. We are talking about a tropical storm, Bonnie. It's no longer a hurricane. The center is near latitude 37.7 north, longitude 73.0 west, or about 290 miles south-southwest of Nantucket Island. It is moving toward the northeast near 13 miles per hour, so it has accelerated. The maximum sustained winds are down to 70 miles per hour. Little change in strength is forecast during the next 24-hour period. Like I said, tropical storm warnings remain in effect from Watch Hill, Rhode Island to Plymouth, Massachusetts. We have some video we'd like to pass along to you now. This is not a good day to be spending at the beach in many areas of the Northeast. The effects of Hurricane Bonnie are being felt along the coast. This is Atlantic City, New Jersey, where waves have been getting larger this afternoon. Ocean City was spared the brunt of Hurricane Bonnie, but the area is still feeling a few of its effects. There's been some light rain and the waves continue to crash against the beach. Winds have been gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour and the waves are reaching as high as 10 feet. I'm joined now by our hurricane expert, John Hope. John, you've been following tropical systems for over 30 years. What do you make of this tropical storm now?
Well, it is a tropical storm, and we're certainly glad to be able to report that. We didn't really expect to see any hurricane force winds on shore anyway up in the mid-Atlantic states of New England, but we're very glad it's been downgraded, and it's going to continue to weaken, we believe, because it's starting to get over colder water kind of slowly now. It won't weaken that fast. But the thing is, it's accelerating out, so it's going to get on out of the way. It'll be coming a beam somewhere, the Cape Cod, by tonight sometime, and Nova Scotia tomorrow.
Okay, as we're looking at this satellite vantage point, you can see that it's not as well organized as what we were looking at earlier.
Well, what we don't see is a whole lot of concentration of heavy showers around the center. You certainly can discern very clearly where the center is. And again, we expect the movement to be up in this fashion here, and it looks now as if the center is going to stay south of Cape Cod and the islands, and that's very helpful to them too, because the only way they were going to get very extremely strong winds there would have been for it to pass over them and they get on the other side of the hurricane. On the radar, you can see some rain bands now. I think Mike is up in Montauk Point here, and these bands are advancing northward very slowly, so they are moving into that area. But on the other hand, it's still raining down here, say along Atlantic City, but that's going to be moving on out during the evening.
Okay, so a nicer weekend for a lot of folks than what we had thought at one point. Looking at this satellite vantage point, you can see it's kind of stretching out quite a bit here.
It is, and that's very common when the storm begins to get up at higher latitudes, such as this one is. You begin to get these westerly winds at high levels, and that sends the clouds streaming on out to the east even faster than the storm itself moves.
And as you mentioned, cooler waters too. So
yes, it's once it gets north of the Gulf Stream, then the waters get cool enough. You really need 80 degrees Fahrenheit or so to support the maintenance of a tropical storm or hurricane. So we would expect at this latitude for it to weaken gradually.
Okay, do want to talk about what's going on with Hurricane Danielle, because all eyes are going to be on that as soon as we get rid of Tropical Storm Bonnie. Hurricane Danielle, I believe we have the latest information here as of 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. 510 miles east of San Salvador. That's the center now. Winds 90 miles per hour, still moving west-northwest at 15 miles per hour. John, a little concerned about Hurricane Danielle?
Oh yes, San Salvador incidentally is an island here in the eastern Bahamas, and it's about 900 miles now, say, from Miami, Florida, so it's a good ways away. Well, we're concerned because we think this hurricane has the potential to become a pretty nasty hurricane, even though it's only 90 miles an hour now. But we're quite confident that the track is going to gradually turn more toward the north, and we think it's going to turn up east of the United States, and we hope the whole United States. We need to watch that, but right now there's some chance that it might just scoot just east, but it's going to be close enough on the North Carolina coast to worry a little bit.
Okay, we will certainly keep a watchful eye on what's going on with Hurricane Danielle. Thank you so much, John Hope, for your expertise. As always, if you have questions about this situation, you can tap into the Weather Channel's online service at weather.com if you're away from your television set. Now we go back to the studio with Lisa Moser.
Thanks, Janetta Jones, standing by in the Forecast Center with more details on the tropical situation that is currently brushing the northeast. For more details, join us at the bottom of the hour. Again, looking right now at the regional radar, we have rain showers still moving across much of the Chicagoland area. Indianapolis, we finally got some rain, and it does look like we're going to see some more. You'll notice that we're looking at the same weather pattern that we were looking at a couple of hours ago. It's all due to this area of low pressure. We've got a warm front draping across central Illinois, and the rain showers are associated with this system keep redeveloping because the system's a slow mover. You'll notice that the frontal boundary drapes all the way down across Oklahoma and into the Texas Panhandle. And here, too, we have seen some showers and some thunderstorms. We're beginning to see a little bit of a monsoonal moisture flow kick up here across the New Mexico vicinity. And so some of the thunderstorms here are going to be putting out some very heavy rain showers this hour. You'll notice that we finally got a little bit of rain, not very much, in and around Abilene. We could actually use a little more. That wasn't quite enough. We may see some more rain showers moving in around the Dallas area, and we're beginning to see the thunderstorms pop up. It's that time of the day where they become a little more numerous, a little stronger, but the big threat of severe weather certainly is not going to be so much with hail or strong wind gusts as it will be maybe some flooding with too much rain in the same old area. This system will continue to drape across this section of the country even into the evening hours. Not a lot of movement, so that means a little bit of training going on across the Corn Belt and into the Central Plains. Overnight tonight, you'll notice some cooler air creeping in across the northern plains. Not a lot of moisture working in with this system, and our first system, well, it kind of dies out, and finally we get a break where it's been so cloudy across St. Louis, and a little moisture is expected to move into the Tennessee Valley area, but by tomorrow we're really not looking at very much moisture working into this system. Very nice conditions out towards the west. In Oregon, parts of Northern California, we've seen very clear skies, and we're going to continue to see a ridge building, so get ready because it certainly has been warm, and that's going to continue. But cooling down across the northern plains as this frontal boundary pushes just a little bit further to the south. We'll notice those winds shifting tomorrow across parts of Iowa, and with a northerly wind, it's going to be a lot more comfortable than what we experienced for today. Looking at the heavy rainfall again, we've had a little bit too much rain in and around northern Illinois. It has been heavy at times across the St. Louis vicinity, a little bit lighter across parts of Arkansas and the Oklahoma area, but the Panhandle here too, some of the thunderstorms have really put out some water, so be prepared for this to occur again overnight tonight. Looking at the temperatures, a little bit of a break. We see some 40s creeping in across the North Dakota area. That's because that Canadian air is going to come in behind that frontal boundary. It'd be nice if it got just a little bit further south. Down south, the afternoon high temperatures will be much like what they are right now across the south. Lots of 100-degree temperature readings across southern Georgia and Alabama, and also the Texas area. So triple-digit heat. We may see a few more record highs like what we did, in fact, yesterday. But much of the northeast, up in the Great Lake tier, the northeast not too bad either, but much in the northeast you're going to notice those 60s for the afternoon high temperatures. So this frontal boundary, even though it's not associated with very much moisture, it is going to give us some of that nice, cool Canadian air. So tomorrow afternoon, look for those high temperatures to only make it into the 60s in around International Falls, the Green Bay area as well. It's going to be quite comfortable. Well, the local forecast coming up, it'll be comfortable for a lot of folks out west. We'll have that as well as your travel-wise forecast. We'll take a closer look at some of the regional radars where the moisture is currently falling. We'll be back.
When Hurricane Fran hit down here, it pretty much destroyed the Carolina coastline. We work in a marina. We were so busy helping our customers get their boats out of the water that we didn't have time to board up our house.
We've got a lot of windows in this house.
We went over to Lowe's and it was very late. Brian, the manager, let us in and helped us get all the supplies that we needed to board up our house. He was a real lifesaver.
And house saver too.
Thanks, Lowe's, and thanks to Brian.
Glad we could help.
Sun is rising. Shine, shine. Looks like a great day.
It's a great day for the comfort and convenience of changing tint transitions lenses. Indoors, they lighten. Outdoors.
Well, thanks so much for joining us for Storm Watch. Right now, our tropical update showing that as of the latest, we now have another tropical storm, so to speak. Bonnie at one time was a hurricane. It was downgraded to a tropical storm, briefly came up to hurricane status, now back to a tropical storm. Top sustained winds at 70 miles per hour. Of course, hurricane status is 74 miles per hour sustained, so it has weakened some, and it is also picking up forward speed. It is now moving northeast at 13 miles per hour, so we are looking at Bonnie picking up and moving away. We also have had a change in the advisories. Currently, tropical storm warnings out from Plymouth southward to Watch Hill, Rhode Island. All the other advisories were dropped as of 5 p.m. Here's our satellite photograph. I think you can see where the center of circulation is. Right through here, that's where the center of Bonnie is, and just on the extreme northern fringe, that's where we have some squalls coming in. So that's going to be the best chance of where we're going to find some gusty winds and rain from the middle New Jersey coast all the way up toward southern New England. Here's the radar picture, and you get the idea of what's happening. Center of circulation right through here, of course, in the northern hemisphere with these low pressure centers. They spin counterclockwise, so you can see this counterclockwise spin at the bottom part of your television set. Around New York City, fine. Hardly able to notice anything's around, any tropical system. But I suspect out toward Montauk and areas nearby, as this little squall moves on in, the winds will pick up significantly and you'll get the heavy rain for a while. But conditions are actually looking pretty decent. Some heavy bursts of rain, gusty winds at times, but not nearly as bad as it could have been. Out toward the middle coast of New Jersey, there's also a squall swinging on in, so look for the winds to pick up and the rain to pick up too. Where is Bonnie going now? Well, we think it's going to clip the Cape or move a little bit offshore of the Cape, so that's where probably the gustiest winds will be. Then it will continue its path northward, heading up toward Nova Scotia, skirting by Nova Scotia. Next, Hurricane Danielle. As of 5 p.m., centered 510 miles east of San Salvador. Top sustained winds have not changed, 90 miles per hour. One of the Hurricane Hunter aircraft was out there, And actually, one of the new jets were out there, one of the NOAA aircraft also investigating even some of the upper reaches of the hurricane to do research. So that's what's been happening today. It's been rather busy around Danielle. Where is Danielle going? The course has not changed significantly, west-northwest, but what we are expecting with Danielle is that over the next 2 days, continuing on this course, but as Danielle heads closer to the Bahamas in a very similar fashion that Bonnie took, that Danielle should start to make that curve, then hook rather abruptly off to the north. Into North Carolina, I'm thinking, is it going to be close enough to affect us? Could be close to eastern North Carolina again, but all the forecasts at the present time are keeping Bonnie a little bit offshore. Doesn't mean that that's going to follow the exact path. So, especially into eastern North Carolina, you need to follow this hurricane as well. Hopefully, for all interests in Florida, we'll be able to breathe a little bit easier once again. Again, here is the hurricane. This is Danielle. Should begin that turn shortly east of the Bahamas. Don't want to let your guard down, though. Even if you're watching from Florida, check back occasionally to make sure it's on course as planned. Something else, I think you can see this line right through here. Notice it moving off to the west. That's a tropical wave. It appears to be organizing some. So as this tropical wave continues to make its way up toward the northwestern Caribbean Sea, it appears that conditions are slowly becoming more favorable for development. So for all interests in the Northwest Caribbean and the southern Gulf of Mexico, we'll have to watch closely, especially the next couple of days, for possible development. Looking back out to the Pacific, Tropical Storm Howard, top sustained winds 45. It is going way down. The convection or the heavy storms or heavy rain bands near that center of circulation have all but disappeared. They're well off in the northwestern quadrant. Not affecting Mexico, not affecting Hawaii. Back here in the States, showers and storms, actually some of these could be quite strong. Much more about what's going on here in the States, of course, including Bonnie. That's next.
The mid-Atlantic coast already feels Bonnie's force, and areas farther north are bracing for its possible arrival. We'll show you where Bonnie may head next on Weather Center.
Now's the time to discover the great selection of all 1998 Oldsmobile cars and trucks available at Discover.